Ben, you there?
Um, you are Brad.
Should I shut off
Restart it.
my camera? Would that help?
Yeah,
Ben, hello?
yeah. We're good. Should we shut off
Okay.
cameras? I cannot. I could not
Yeah,
tell.
yeah, just shut off your camera.
Okay.
I had no clue that would be an issue. Well, I guess it is. I guess we're going to no camera show today. Not
Yeah.
going to go and edit that out. Little hiccup. COVID basketball issues. Baylor having a few positives in the program. The ACC. COVID in basketball is a lot different than it is in football.
Mhm.
You can have up to about 30 people traveling per team, correct, Ben? I mean, you have
Yeah.
about 15 players. Most are scholarship. I think usually like 10 scholarship players, at least for Power Five. You have probably 3, 4 coaches, trainers, athletic staff, equipment managers. You probably have about 30 people traveling on a day-to-day basis. If you have one positive out of 30 people, that is a big deal. In football, you can have a positive, but you have roughly 85, 90 players in a Power 5 team, and you have probably an additional 60 staff members, 50 staff members. Football is a lot bigger of an operation. So you probably have about 130 to 150 participants in a day-to-day football team. That's 4, 5 times bigger than a basketball team. So there will be more cancellations, I think, basketball-wise. Villanova was supposed to play DePaul tomorrow night. We're filming this on Sunday. That game's canceled. DePaul has some COVID issues.
Man.
But yeah, Baylor's a lot. ACC is canceling all non-tournament games for the rest of the season. Of course, March Madness will be an exception. I'm going to have Ben touch on that.
Sorry, I muted myself briefly. Just some yelling going on in the background. But Brad, could you repeat yourself? I'm sorry.
Tim said, "What happened? Family time." Tim, I just spent a lot of family time watching the Bears game, but the Bears game ended. Ben called, said, "You want to film a podcast?" And I said, "Let's do it, Ben." So filming a quick 20, 30-minute podcast. What do you say, Ben? Sorry.
Unfortunately, I muted myself. There was some yelling.
ACC non-tourney games.
Oh, so I actually looked into this, and it turns out the ACC did not make any declarations regarding non-conference games, but Duke has canceled its non-conference games, like you said, Brad. And a lot of games have been canceled just today alone. Texas and Baylor, obviously, because of Baylor's issues, but also
Duke
Virginia,
there?
William and Mary, Kansas. So just a lot of big teams struggling with COVID.
I saw some people. The Alabama head coach said
Oh my God.
something about the Duke being scared. Yesterday, he said, "I take those comments back." That was funny because Alabama is a low-tier Power 5 team, and Duke is a blue blood, consistent top 10 team in the country with probably the most recognized coach in all of college sports, Coach K. That was pretty funny.
Jim Boeheim. So the coach, Alabama's coach, Nate Oates, he used to coach Buffalo. He did a great job there. And he went to Alabama, which is kind of a dead-end program for a lot of coaches. Hopefully he can turn it around. But he made those comments. He said he wondered if Coach K was only saying that there should be no non-conference games or no basketball at all because his team was struggling. Obviously, that's not true. Coach K is one.
Ben?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you just cut out for about 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying that. Did you hear the part about Nate Oates?
I did. The ex-Buffalo coach who went to Bama
Yes.
and had a dead-end program.
And Alabama's kind of a dead-end program. But, yeah, his comments were not exactly wise, especially from a young coach. Jim Boeheim said that he did not understand it, and I agreed with him. And, yeah, you don't disrespect Coach K like that.
Absolutely not. Gonna move over to college football. Florida, we'll touch on that later, but the Western Michigan Ball State game was a classic MAC game. Ben, you were watching the game. Tell us about it.
Maction is just legendary it's just the best. Yes. The MAC conference games, I've been hyping them up all year. They're so good. This one was no different. Western Michigan had a 27-13 lead over Ball State and blew that lead. Ball State 30-27 lead. 6 seconds left. Ball around midfield for Western Michigan. things get crazy here. There's about 20 laterals, just kind of going back and forth, losing ground though. They're losing ground. They got backed up to like their own 20-yard line. When one of their players fumbled and the Ball State players thought they had won the game, so they started storming onto the field, even though the ball was picked up by Western Michigan. So Western Michigan still had, like, the play was still alive. Eventually, Western Michigan got all the way to the end zone through a bunch of Ball State players, and unfortunately, the entire play was called back because of an illegal forward pass. But it was pretty fun to watch.
Sounds just like some good old action. Oh wow, Keenan Allen just scored a touchdown. Thank you, Tim, for the comment. Keenan Allen's on my fantasy team. I'm playing Amani, a good friend of the show. I'm blowing him out. It's a good week to be me in fantasy. I bet I'm up by like 60, 70 points. And I'm expecting to win by that much too. Let's talk now about Florida. I mean, shoot, I watched pretty much the whole game. It was a great game. I didn't really watch much afternoon college football yesterday. Of course, I saw the UNC humiliation of the Miami Hurricanes just program. Oh my God. That was just, I love to see that. For one, that helps Notre Dame immensely, as Notre Dame beat UNC at UNC by 14 points just 2 weeks ago. And Miami, a rival of Notre Dame, and just a program that was on a high, and then this just took them all the way to ground zero yet again. A feeling that Hurricane fans know pretty well in these last few years, but still, I like to add it on, as Notre Dame has been pretty good. Miami is not. We're not going to talk about 2017 when Miami beat Notre Dame, but the Florida game, wow. Florida had every chance to win that game. LSU was on their third-string quarterback, Brad Johnson, the ex-Miami Hurricanes quarterback. See, I tied everything in. Ex-Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, too. His name is Max Johnson. He was a two-star recruit from Alabama. Georgia, excuse me. He put on a show. He didn't have the best stats, but he led his team without Terrence Marshall, without Jamar Chase, who's been out all year, with their second, third, and fourth string running backs. Oh my goodness. They pulled off a massive upset against a hot Florida team in the swamp. And at about, I don't know, halfway through the third quarter, some fog came into Gainesville.
Crazy.
Went to the stadium, throughout the stadium. Didn't really get to the field until the fourth quarter. But it got so bad from the normal camera angle that they moved to a camera down on the field, maybe 10 feet above ground, and they used that camera to go play-by-play, which is rare and kind of cool. It reminded me of the 1998 Fog Bowl in Chicago. The Philadelphia Eagles in a playoff game played the Mike Ditka Bears. I forget who won the game, but
didn't matter.
It was one of the most eerie games of all time, and this Florida game felt eerie for many reasons, including one of the most stupid.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know what to say. Ben, were you watching the game?
I was watching the game.
It was a good game. It was back and forth. LSU
played its best game of the year by far.
I'd agree, and they were playing with probably more than half of their starters out. This is a deep LSU team that battled. They were so resilient. Their defense was so tired. They didn't really have anyone who didn't play. Everyone was playing. And Tim said, as ND fans, we are glad Florida lost. Yes, we are. That pretty much gets them out, even with a win over Bama, which would help Notre Dame, because if Notre Dame wins, Notre Dame goes to 1.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was good for Notre Dame. But let's move on to the USC UCLA, the Battle of LA. It was played in Rose Bowl Stadium. Both teams had their home unis on, which is rare, but I loved it. The red and yellow from the Trojans and the blue and gold from the Bruins was so cool. I don't know if you watched that game, Ben, but it was.
I was not watching the UCLA game. No.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson, very underrated quarterback. I saw him a few years ago on the Elite 11 show. Liked what he had.
Brad? We appear to have lost Brad.
At UCLA.
Brad, you just cut out for a solid 15 seconds.
I was talking about DTR and how he backed up Tate Martell at Miami.
Okay.
And then he's now starting and Tate Martell is not. Chip Kelly, a very sneaky team he's building there in California. I mean, UCLA in a few years is going to be a competitor in the Pac-12 for sure. I mean, Washington just got a 5-star quarterback and is running for a few others. So Washington will be good. Oregon is having a down year, but they're not to be messed with. USC is on pace to keep up their good 9-4, 8-5 seasons. And then UCLA.
Yeah. Let's just talk about USC for a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about USC.
So after Florida's loss, which, by the way, we didn't mention this. Florida lost because a cornerback threw a shoe, basically. But Florida loses to LSU, and now that means that they're out of it, right? So it comes down to if Clemson beats Notre Dame, but let's just pretend Notre Dame beats Clemson, knocks Clemson out. Do you have USC sneaking into that 4 spot if they win?
Mr. Pete Futak, about 3 weeks ago, came on the show. Ben, why'd you say what?
No, I said yeah. I'm just agreeing with you.
Came on the show, and he told us, he said, if one of these teams suffers in the, 3 or I'd say just 1 to 8 spot that only have 1 loss or less, aka Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Florida, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, if they suffer an upset loss, they'll be pretty much out. But he did not think a group of 5 team would have enough. He said Cincinnati is not going to make it over a Pac-12 team. He did say, and I vividly remember him saying this, a Pac-12 team will have to go undefeated and beat another undefeated Pac-12 team in the championship. Washington has a loss. They've won their games tight, and they've won their games against not very good opponents. But still, Washington probably could be ranked top 25 this week. I doubt it, but you never know. That would definitely help USC just getting a ranked win because they don't have one.
I just don't think USC's that.
I don't think so either, and I don't think they've won these games close too.
There's something called the eye test.
Who just got blown out by 63 at Arizona State. They beat Arizona State by 1 in a crazy comeback at home in the first game of their season. Just beat UCLA by 4 in a comeback win. They have not been ultra.
This is easily a team that could be 0-4 or 1-4, and we're talking about Clay Helton's job security.
Exactly. They've pulled these game out, I think, in credit to Graham Harrell, their offensive coordinator, and Keaton Slovis.
Yeah.
Also Amon St. Brown, who should have went to Notre Dame, and I'll continue to say that. But hey, creds to Clay Helton, but I don't think they're getting in. I think Notre Dame's losing by 10 or less against Clemson. I think Ohio State's winning by probably 20 against Northwestern. Alabama's winning by probably 25 against Florida. And it's going to be an Alabama-Notre Dame Sugar Bowl. And it's going to be an Ohio State-Clemson Rose Bowl, which might be changed to somewhere else. I heard it might be Dallas, where the Cotton Bowl is played, might be an alternative. The Fiesta Bowl in Phoenix might be an alternative. But they played in the Fiesta Bowl last year. They would maybe play in the Orange Bowl, but that's in Miami, and the championship game's in Miami. So why would you do that? I think it'll end up going to Dallas, Texas, and they will play in the Cotton Bowl, where Clemson did beat Notre Dame 2 years ago in the playoff.
By a lot. Just real quick.
Without a few plays, it was a close game. Keep going.
Russell Gage passed deep middle to Calvin Ridley for a 40-yard touchdown. That's kind of random. It was a direct snap to Russell Gage. So, hey.
That's not good for me.
Not good for Brad.
NFL, Bears got a huge win moments ago. Got benched for Mr. Colt McCoy, and the Chiefs come from behind to beat Tua Time and the Miami Dolphins. I'll let you go through those, Ben.
Honestly, though, the noon games were pretty mediocre. None of them were that close. I guess you could argue that the Kansas City-Miami game was entertaining, but the scorelines show that like Tennessee killed Jacksonville, Dallas killed Cincinnati, Arizona killed New York, and Daniel Jones, I don't know what's going on, but he needs to reverse what's going on pretty quick.
I've never been high on him, and I think Joe Judge was the worst hire possible.
Dave Gettleman as their general manager.
I know. I'm going to call him Marco real quick. Huge fan of Joe Judge, and every single time he talks about it, I said he's probably the worst coach in the NFL, and looking like it.
I think Anthony Lynn, but we can.
You think Anthony Lynn? I think Anthony Lynn is probably not top 20, but I think he's in the 20 to 25 range.
I mean,
he'll probably get fired. You're right, which I think he should.
His play calling's been pretty horrible. I've been watching some of the Chargers games, but I don't know. I guess maybe Doug Marrone. There's a lot of iffy coaches.
Didn't Doug Marrone get fired though already?
No, he's still.
I thought he was fired like 3 weeks ago.
No, Doug Marrone's still coaching. They said Shad Khan said that the owner of the Jags said that he would give Marrone until the end of the year.
Good for Sean Khan, the wealthy businessman from the Middle East, correct? Or is he from India?
I think he's actually English. He owns one or two Premier League teams.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I like how we're just talking about who he owns multiple major sport franchises, like it's nothing.
He's a pretty wealthy man.
Very wealthy man.
But we're digressing a little bit. Brad, I mean, what are your takeaways from the noon games? Because I really don't have that many. I guess it's a big momentum win for the Bears. Mitch Trubisky played really well.
I have to say, Tom Brady in the first half played one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen him play. I watched the first half, or I watched a quarter and a half of the Buccaneers-Vikings game, as I did not expect the Bears to perform well, and I just didn't want to watch it. Tom Brady was missing everyone. I mean, wow.
He had one great pass to Scotty Moore. He had one great pass.
Yeah, but that Vikings team is not to be slept on. Talented team. Pretty sure they lost. I haven't checked the final score. They did. That helped the Bears, but Vikings showed some fight in Tampa, and the Buccaneers defense is elite. I mean, number one rush defense. They kind of got blown up by Dalvin Cook, but everyone gets blown out by Dalvin Cook. He's just too dominant. Best back in the league, rushing at least. But
what about Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry, oh my goodness. If he could.
We're having some Wi-Fi trouble, it sounds like, from Brad.
Ben, do you hear me?
You just came back.
All right. Well, I said Derrick Henry would probably be the best running back of all time if he could catch like Alvin Kamara and CMC.
I know. I mean, he's already insane, but I agree.
Yeah, he makes that Titans team what it is. I think their play calling is fabulous. They just feed off him so much. The play action is pretty much called every time it's not a run, and they have a pretty solid defense. I think if they get a free agent or two and a good free agent or two, a starter, and then maybe a starter or two in the draft, pick up a little bit more depth, they could definitely contend for a championship, or for a Super Bowl. Ben, I want you to touch on the Redskins,
Washington football
Giants. What's going on? Yes, Washington football team. Sorry, in Ben and I's script it said Redskins.
Oh, my bad. That is my fault. I forgot to.
Football team, Giants. Who is making it out of the NFC East? Because the Cowboys are pretty much out of it, and the Eagles are virtually out of it as well.
Honestly, I think the Washington.
I like the football team more. Yeah, I think the football team could beat the Bears.
Could. I think the NFC. I called it the NFC least for a reason.
Yeah.
The Cowboys and Eagles are two of the worst teams in the NFL. The Giants, I don't know what's going on. And the Washington football team is definitely not a good team. But this is a team that, hey, they beat the Steelers. They beat the Steelers last week. And they have a decent defense. Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. Not the worst team.
Facts. I mean, you're not wrong. NFL so far, not the greatest day. So we're going to move on to college basketball yet again, talk about Keontae Johnson. Yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was 11 a.m. Central's tip, 12 Eastern. Florida called a timeout, or there was a timeout. The The players on both teams went to their respective benches, talked over what was going on. They walked back onto the court. Keontae Johnson had like a stumble or two, fell face down on the court. Looked like he passed out or something happened. The players were scared. They ran back to their bench. Keontae was put into a stretcher, like he was paralyzed. Went to the local hospital there in Gainesville. Was treated immediately. It was found to be some form or something of myocarditis, which comes with having COVID or asymptomatic COVID. And he did have COVID a few months ago over the summer.
Truly scary. I mean, that's the type of thing that we don't talk about COVID a lot on the show. We always talk about it, but we don't really talk about the effects.
We try not to, yeah.
That is probably the scariest thing in my mind, other than being obviously deathly ill with it.
Yeah.
The effects that we don't know about.
We don't know what it could do to you in 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly.
10 years.
Exactly.
I mean, it's unknown, and no one's gonna know because COVID is a year old. It's not like it's the flu and it's been around for hundreds of years. We just don't know, which just adds on to how scary it is. Final topic of the day: coaching carousel in college football. Lovie Smith, Kevin Sublin, and Gus Malzahn, the latest to be let go of their Power 5 positions. Derek Mason of Vanderbilt is, I think, the only other Power 5 coach that has been let go so far. So that's a total of 4. That's a big amount. And Ben was saying Gus Malzahn is probably going to be hired somewhere else in the Power 5, which I agree with. He wasn't a terrible coach at Auburn. But the talent they brought in and what he could produce with it was definitely underwhelming. And I think he deserved, after all these years, to get fired. I did see, though, the buyout was over $21 million.
Oh, my. So they really did want to fire him. Otherwise, you don't make that move. I think it was an all right decision. I was a little surprised by it just because they've been holding on to him for so long. But, yeah, if you're Auburn, you expect to be doing better than they have been doing.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, thank you for joining me yet again. Another great podcast. Thank you, viewers. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever.
Thank you, Tim.
Share with your friends. We appreciate it. That's going to be the end. Peace.
See ya.